What's up, YouTube? Welcome to my room tour. Look at how pretty. My room says so much about me, and I'm gonna put this on YouTube. So, before we get started with my actual room tour, there's something that happened on school on Monday that I just need to take a minute to talk about. So we had a guy come in and present on Safe YouTube, which he pulls up this YouTube video, which has like all of these things outlined about how to be safe on YouTube for teens. And I guess all of the teachers and parents are concerned that every 15-year-old in my school has YouTube channels. So he comes into the class, 8th grade, and basically he shows us this YouTube video for teens about how to be safe on YouTube. And it felt so patronizing, and it outlined all of these things that we had to do to keep ourselves safe, and basically restricted everything fun and everything that we do to socialize on YouTube. They were trying to focus on YouTube risk and how putting videos online of us doing room tours and like what I ate in a day videos and a day in the life of is making us all unsafe. So here are a few of the rules that he went over. Number 1, respect yourself and others. If you don't feel safe, tell an adult. Number 2, do the grandma test before you post. Super condescending. Number 3, don't let others control your privacy settings and don't post other people's faces without their consent. Okay. And number 4, be a good citizen. Don't post anything that is against the community guidelines that will get removed. If you have 3 strikes, your channel gets deleted and you can't open another one. This is the one that actually hit home. For all of the other ones were completely useless for the most part, and like common sense, common knowledge. This one makes sense, which I'll talk about in just a minute. So the perceived risks of YouTube that I think are pretty self-explanatory. Being exploited online by predators is the big scary one, and like all 15-year-olds know that. Number 2 is bullying. Number 3 is identity and information theft. And number 4 is the lasting impression of what you put on the internet is forever. So it's funny, so they came into our 8th grade class, but it seemed like they were talking way more to the girls than the boys. Like the woman in the video itself just appealed more to girls, you know? It was like she was a big sister, or that's what they were going for, I guess. But boys, it just didn't have the same like sticky factor. Even though the little man in it was like androgynous, and it didn't have a gender, it was like a big sister was talking to you and like telling you what not to do when you're on the internet. So, I don't know, kind of weird. They said don't post anything sexually suggestive, and that just like inherently calls out teen girls because our sexuality is so feared and monitored by society. It's like they're trying to tell girls not to wear bathing suits on YouTube instead of teaching boys not to be creeps and perverts. They should be telling the boys how to be nice online rather than telling girls not to post anything where you can see even a little bit of our bodies. The whole thing was just like hyper controlling, especially towards girls. Yeah, I don't know, I just felt like blamed for my body. Like it's society that has made it so we have to interact online in that social space because they've over-controlled every other space that we have, like schools, malls, and even like our homes. We don't have nearly as much freedom as our parents did. They forced us to make identity and form social groups online, and now they're like blaming girls for trying to establish our identity online. I don't know, super weird. Okay, so enough of my whining. Let's get started with our room tour. So the first thing that you can see is my super pretty bedspread that I have going on here, or also Goffman and Dana Boyd would say my front stage presentation of self. What I'm doing when I'm putting this on YouTube is I'm creating an identity. It's impression management of that identity is what I'm doing with all of the safety, and every little bit that I'm presenting is thoughtfully given to the audience. It's what I want them to see about who I am and what my room says about me. And it's just a new way of interacting online. The things I create and share with my peers on YouTube show the impressions that I want to perpetuate. The management is when I take steps to monitor what I'm showing and to whom. What the viewer doesn't understand is that this isn't exactly who I am. Like this is so well thought out, but it carries over into my offline self as well. So my intended audience is for who my videos are geared towards. Other kids my age who are going to think that I'm cool, give me attention and social standing, maybe even a little bit of fame. Like the really famous girls who post videos on YouTube. It's just like the cool thing to do. But at the same time, knowing that randoms can see my channel also really influences my presentation of self in finding the line between being attractive to my age group, but not attracting creepers that are usually older and are like predatory. So I don't wear really revealing tops, or if I have a video of me by the pool in the backyard, I might make that one private. Like, I know what I'm doing, and I don't want people just like stumbling across my YouTube channel. I'm smarter than they think. What my mom doesn't understand when she hates the whole YouTube thing is that she's fallen into this weird like moral panic about YouTubing. She thinks that I'm half naked in these videos and that predators are gonna like contact me and I'm gonna go and meet them. I don't know, like I'm that dumb. I'm a digital native after all, and I know exactly enough on how not to do dumb things like that. I also know how to block people and delete comments if I don't know them or I don't like them or someone's bothering me. It's just like the safe YouTube presentation told us to do. Know enough to keep myself safe. But she doesn't get that. She had to throw up all of these weird parental controls on YouTube, and it's just like so easy to dance around them. And it almost makes you want to dance around them more because it's like a challenge, right? Like you're telling me not to do this and you've controlled every other area in my life, so I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna go and meet some guy that tries to contact me on the internet. I'm just not. It's like they're blaming us for interacting online. But they also blame the technology, you know? Like that's why YouTube has all of these parental controls now. It's a reaction to the perception of how unsafe the internet is. And it makes the user feel surveyed and watched, especially because YouTube will remove videos that they deem as inappropriate content. It's Foucaultian governmentality. We think that we're being surveyed and watched by YouTube police, so we're self-regulating the content that we post. It's as much about that and being humiliated if a video would get taken down. And it would be humiliating because all of your friends would know that you've messed up and that you have posted something inappropriate. And it's just so much more effective than the safe YouTube campaigns, this like panoptic self-regulation thing that YouTube has created with these community standards and community guidelines. I'm way more scared of the YouTube police than I am of my parents, and I'm gonna regulate what I post because of that. Just so much of what the guy showed us was irrelevant in the video today. It didn't make any sense. It missed the mark. But the panoptic conditions of the community standards are actually super clever. And it's a really good way to regulate each other and make us think twice about our behavior because we feel policed by others. And that feeling of policing makes us regulate what we say and what we post, like we're being watched. It's like responsibilizing in a big way. The thing is though, is that we're already being safe. Like I have privacy settings on my channel so I can see who's viewing my channel and my videos. It's obviously scary when you hear stories of girls that get hurt, but they make us smarter in the way that we go about presenting ourselves online. And online presence is just like so important in today's world. And that's the presentation of online identity is just how we interact online now. So symbolic interaction theory's definition of the situation is such that I understand that despite being a digital native and having ways of keeping myself safe online, I'm aware that there are risks. But despite this, my social group deems room tours as cool. So of course I'm going to participate. I do this for social status. I'm not allowed to do lots of things I want to do, like drive or stay out late, especially because my mom and my friends' parents are so worried about what we're doing when we're together. I feel so regulated and controlled all the time, especially as a young woman. And I know that this isn't what it was like for my parents. They had way more freedom than I do, you know? But they don't have control over what I put on the internet, really. I mean, like, they try and teach us the safe ways to go about it, but when it boils down to it, I know what I'm doing and I know how to get around the ways that they put up the controls. So, yeah, there's no room to like grow our identities and interact in our own spaces anymore. So we've created an online way that if you're not going to let my friends over into my room, I'm going to show them my room on YouTube. It's just a new way of interacting. It's truly a new way of symbolic interactionism on YouTube. So what the parental controls essentially do and what the community guidelines do is, yes, they give us a basis for like the panoptic effect that I talked about earlier, but they also allow for social steganography and like the encryption of messages. So for example, when we walked into my room, I had a bra just hanging out on my couch. And yeah, I mean, it's a bra. So yeah, that would pass the grandma test because my room is messy. But that was intended for my 15-year-old boy crush to see that. And it's a message that is encoded into this video, and it's scandalous in the way that no one is going to flag it. It goes around the panoptic effect, but at the same time, it's very clearly getting across a message that I want to hide from my parents or my grandma test or the community guidelines on the internet. So, and things like that happen all of the time in these videos. So as a 24-year-old adult, I find that these same conditions apply to me in the way that I go about interacting online. YouTube started to become a big thing when I was about 13. So all of these rules and regulations and the community guidelines came out. And room tours might be the flavor of the day, but it's always been something. It's always been kind of a governmentality, like Foucauldian way of like surveillance and self-surveying. And then kids get around it and get around their parents to encode messages to each other and be naughty online while not attracting predators and establishing their self-identity. It's absolutely fascinating. And this in particular was really geared towards young girls, I think, especially when they call us out on being sexually suggestive. I mean, it's very much directed towards young girls, even though the little figure, like I mentioned, was androgynous. So all in all, I mean, this was a useless how to be safe on YouTube video if you are actually 15 years old, except for the instilling the fear of the community guidelines and the YouTube police, and that your friends are going to flag you if you do something wrong. So Foucault and Dana Boyd for the win with this one. But I mean, essentially, teens, I think, know how to interact online and how to keep themselves safe. And, they're going to encode messages to each other like I did with the bra. And yeah, I think, like I said, the panoptic way is the best way to go about regulating it, not the condescending, patronizing videos that are on YouTube. So thank you for joining me for this discussion of room tours and Foucault and symbolic interactionism and a whole bunch of other sociological things. Thank you, YouTube.